Welcome to the Hire Yourself podcast. Are you stuck in the corporate rat race, worrying about layoffs, and longing to take control of your destiny? This is the place for frustrated executives like you who want to escape the grind, live life on your own terms, and build wealth. Whether you're ready to make a full transition into franchise ownership or want to start building a side business along your corporate job, Pete guides you every step of the way. He'll talk about how to create career and income security, diversify your assets and income, and live life on your own terms. Your path to controlling your own destiny starts now.
Welcome to the Hire Yourself podcast. My name is Pete Gilfill, and I am an entrepreneur, the best-selling author of the book Hire Yourself, and a nationally recognized franchise consultant, and certainly a proud corporate escapee. You know, my mission in life is to help individuals to take control of their destiny, to live life on their own terms, and to build wealth. And so that's my mission, and I am here to be there, to be people's coaches, to consider taking control of their lives. And so, what I thought we would do to talk about in today's edition of our podcast is why entrepreneurs can often create wealth faster than corporate executives. And, building wealth, setting yourself up to have that financial independence. One of the things when I work with executives to consider becoming entrepreneurs, one of the biggest things they say is, Pete, I want to take control of my destiny. I want to live life on my own terms. And I want to build wealth so that I'm in control, so nobody is controlling me financially. So let's talk a little bit about why being an entrepreneur, we can take control or build wealth faster. So number one is when we work in a corporate world, we're building something. Unfortunately, we're not building equity in anything. In most cases, right? We're building something. And the idea behind this is that as a business owner, you're building up equity in something that you could sell. It could be a legacy for your family from that standpoint. And I used the example in a prior podcast where I worked with an executive and he worked for a large corporation and they had him start a new company within that corporation. And he worked his butt off for 10 years, 10 years of his hard work. And after 10 years, they transferred him to a different group or a different division. And all that hard work, he didn't get anything for that. He didn't have any kind of equity in that. And so he just kind of had to walk away from it. When you're a business owner, when you build it, you have equity that you built, that you have options going later. Or simply put, it's a way to create wealth. And as we talk about a business owner, the cool thing is that in a corporation, you obviously can grow, but with a small business, you can easily scale your business. You can scale quickly. And so franchising is designed to quickly scale. And that might be multiple territories, that might be multiple locations, but you can scale your business. Obviously, that drives revenue, that drives equity that you have. But the idea is it's a way in which you can kind of scale very quickly, allowing you for that growth and certainly that income. Another thing that we look at is that when we are an entrepreneur, you can make decisions quickly, and decisions quickly can seize opportunities. In corporations, you could see something, but a lot of times you can't move fast enough to kind of leverage or capitalize on those opportunities. With a business owner, you're agile, you're able to make decisions very quickly and move towards that opportunity. And so that's a great reason. And as a business owner, the idea is that you can diversify your revenue streams or your income. As a corporate executive, a lot of times that's our sole income. And what many people say to me is the reason why I want to become an entrepreneur is I want to diversify my assets. I want to diversify my income. So if something zigs, something zags, I am covered. And so I think about a guy that I put into a restoration franchise. Now, he was a corporate executive, couldn't take it anymore. He decided to leave the corporate world and invested in a restoration business. But he quickly realized that he could diversify his revenue streams. He started a second company, a handyman company that literally came in. And if, for example, somebody had damage in their house from a flood, they could come in and they could fix that damage. And so the idea that you can diversify your revenue streams as an entrepreneur is huge. And as we talk about a business owner, an entrepreneur, with large corporations, we have large fixed costs. And with a small business, you can really kind of leverage the fixed costs, meaning keep your costs low, be agile, keep it to the point where you're able to move quickly. Keep that overhead cost low so that you can maximize profits. And with corporations, a lot of times there's costs in there that you just can't do anything with. With an entrepreneur, you're in direct control of those costs. As we think about being an entrepreneur, also you have a sense of a little bit more you can take risks or have a higher tolerance for risk. And I know in the corporate world, a lot of times we're kind of held back because of the corporation. As a business owner, if I want to take a calculated risk on growing a segment of the business or taking a risk on hiring an awesome person, I can do that. That's my decision from the standpoint. So as an entrepreneur, you have a little bit more tolerance for risk, and you can leverage that tolerance for risk to build something that creates income, again, building that asset, which is huge. And as an entrepreneur, you're a little bit more closer to your customer, in my opinion. In large corporations, yes, you know your customers, but we talked about that kind of that hyper local. And as a business owner, you can get direct feedback from your customers. I liked it when I worked in my small business, my junk removal franchise, that you could talk to customers and you could get a real pulse of kind of what worked for them, what didn't work for them, what were they needing, what additional services could you provide for them. So I like the idea of that you get direct feedback from your customers. And then also, we've talked about this before, is coming up with innovative solutions. So in large corporations, it's sometimes hard to change things. As a business owner, you can often look at ways in which you can innovate, you can make things unique. And I think about my buddy that owned a salon suite franchise concept, and not part of the business model, but he saw that the technicians or the artisans leasing spaces from, they had a pain point that every night they had to basically take their towels home, wash them, dry them, fold them, and bring it back. So what did he do? He kind of made an innovative decision. He went out and bought a bunch of towels, and he hired a towel masseuse to come collect the towels every night to wash them, dry them, and fold them and put them back in everybody's suites. That's kind of how you can innovate a business. You can change it. Or simply put, you can also focus on the customer needs, prioritize their satisfaction. So if you're working for a large corporation, you're really trying to leverage or maximize shareholder returns, right? And with a business, you can kind of focus on, as an entrepreneur, the customer's needs. You can easy for me to say, prioritize customer satisfaction or engagement, the treatment that they receive. And you can really move quickly at that. And as an entrepreneur, the cool thing is that when you have a good business, you can access capital. When you have a good idea, there is a lot of capital in the marketplace. And so you can use that to help drive and grow your business. Bottom line is that as an entrepreneur, it's an easier or faster way to create wealth. And wealth means that you're in control of your future, or you have financial independence. And I think that's what everybody is looking for. And sometimes people think corporate jobs are safe. They're no longer safe. Maybe I'll do another podcast on that. But this idea is that you might as well put yourself in a position where you can achieve that financial independence so you can live life on your own terms. And for that, we'll sign out. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Hire Yourself podcast. Pete's here to help you break free from the corporate rat race, take control of your destiny, and finally live life on your own terms. Whether that's jumping into franchise ownership full-time or starting it as a side hustle. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a fellow frustrated executive, and leave a review to let us know your thoughts. Ready to start building your bridge to freedom? Visit hireyourself.com for resources, insights, and a clear path forward. Until next time, take charge, build your future, and live life on your own terms.